What's up, guys? It's Hoagie Moto back here again with another ride and review. This time it's on a 2024 CFMoto 800NK. The best way to explain this thing is a more street-friendly KTM 790 Duke. This is a KTM motor with CFMoto branding, and the aesthetics were all designed by KTM designers. MSRP starts at $8,499 US. I've daily ridden a Yamaha MT-09 for the past 4 years, and I've also ridden a lot of other naked sport bikes out there on the market. Claimed horsepower on this bike is 100, as well as 59 foot-pounds of torque. I feel like maybe it's just a bit shy of those numbers. It still does have plenty of power though, and it feels very torquey throughout the entire range. They fitted this with their J-Juan in-house brakes, which are surprisingly pretty good. The designers did a really great job with the look of this bike. I'd be willing to bet that the KTM aftermarket parts would fit on this bike. We'll just have to wait and see. CFMoto also added their slipper clutch, which does help with power delivery and the downshifting. It really prevents when accidentally downshifting too far and locking up the rear wheel. The exhaust is stamped CFMoto, but if you look at the actual shape, it is the same as the 790 and 890s. Has the cat right in the middle, same clamps. If you notice real quick, the brake pedal and shifter pedal tips are actually movable. There's a couple positions that will help with people with different size feet. If you look closely on the bottom triple clamp, there is a mount for a steering stabilizer, which would really come in handy on this bike. Adjustable levers for the clutch and the brake, as well as KYB adjustable suspension on the front forks and rear shock. They do offer a steering stabilizer and a quick shifter kit as accessories. Front and rear tires are Maxxis Super Max. One of the best parts about this bike is this display here. 5-inch TFT, which is full color display. This is one thing CFMoto does well on almost all of their models. Controller for the TFT is built into the left-hand handlebar switch assembly, as well as your lights, mode, cruise control, which I like, and your horn. There's 3 riding modes on this motorcycle: range, street, and sport. Most of which just controls throttle sensitivity. Cruise control is easy to use. Kill and start are on the right side, as well as the hazard lights. There's tons of settings within the TFT display. You need to have the CFMoto phone application, and you can connect with the bike. Let's hear what it sounds like when you start it. Put some seat time in and see what we think. I do love the sound of this bike. I think just the catalytic converter delete would make a huge difference. We sell a ton of the Akrapovic for KTMs. The 800NK does come with anti-lock brake system. It does not come with traction control. I turned my traction control off on my Yamaha MT-09 every single time I rode, and it was actually kind of a pain in the butt. Most of the bikes I've rode over the years did not have traction control, so it's not something that bothers me. Thankfully, this bike has cruise control, and I'd much rather have cruise control than traction control any day. Now, I did read one review that said the tranny is a little rough, but I had zero problems, no misshifts, no problems getting into neutral either. Seat doesn't feel too bad. It's actually improving with time. There's not much cushion back there on the passenger seat. If you ride too up a lot, that may bother you. I'm sure there will be some aftermarket seats that come out for this bike though. The rider seat kept me in good position the entire time. Same with my knees. I never felt like I was getting pulled towards the tank when braking. That means I never got the dreaded numb nuts. The rest of the ergonomics feel good. Lever placement, stock mirrors, seat, foot pegs. I didn't have any problem with any of it. It all felt pretty comfortable right away. I love the TFT display on these newer models. I can see it the entire time, even if it's sunny outside. Some of the older models had like a matte finish, and during some sunlight I couldn't actually read the display. This one is corrected. It may not have as much power as the 790 Duke, but it sure is fun. I'm sure a tuner or ECU flash will be available for this bike soon. Let's show you how good this cruise control works, even at low speeds. Push the cruise control button to the right and click set and you're good. As long as you're in 4th gear, at least 4th gear. I never had any complaints about any of the CFMoto bikes with cruise control. Everything always worked good, easy to use. I would have killed for this cruise control on my MT-09. We're still putting along here with cruise control on. As soon as you apply brake, it automatically shuts off. Alright, back at a low speed here, 24 miles per hour, 25. Hit the cruise control button, just hit set again. The RES button is in front of the set on the cruise control there. It has a plus next to it, which will allow you to increase your speed by 1 mile per hour during cruise control. The set button, which has a negative, that will actually decrease you by 1 mile per hour. Let's keep hitting it. 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Alright, I'm applying brake. It's off. It will definitely take off if you want it to. And just be careful, the back wheel does spin without traction control. So I haven't talked much about the 3 modes this bike has. It has a sport mode, street, and a rain mode. The modes pretty much just control the amount of throttle response there is. If it's slick outside and you want to just be extra careful, you benefit from rain mode just because the reduced throttle response, you can just ease into it, less wheel spin. For normal riding, you can just use street, it's perfectly fine. This bike is ride-by-wire, so there is no throttle cable. I actually use sport majority of the time when I was riding this. The throttle is very touchy, similar to my MT-09. It's great when you're on fast roads and twisties and you really want to get on it. The problem I had was if you're on bumpy roads going very slow, just through a town and there's a bunch of holes and everything like that, every little bump kind of influences the throttle. It's that touchy and you kind of get a little bit of the jerky feeling. I'm actually really happy with the suspension. I weigh almost 200 pounds and it seems to absorb most of the bumps. I'm sure it will soften up a little bit over time. The stock grips are fairly firm. I prefer the Renthal race grips, which are super tacky and soft. They're also very thin though. That's just personal preference, like tires. I would use them while you can. Eventually you can change and pick something different. I don't mind the stock mirrors at all. They don't vibrate, so there's no problems with that. They don't look bad either. The only downfall I think is the left mirror is a little close to the cruise control switch. If this was my bike, I'd probably end up putting bar-end mirrors on here. CFMoto does make a set, or you could go with the good CRGs. So you can flip through settings while you're riding it. I wouldn't really recommend it. You can change the riding mode while currently riding. If you want to do so, you just cannot be pressing brake or using the throttle at that time. It only takes about a second to switch over while you hit the M mode button. It's crazy, but the fit and finish of this bike, even down to the bolts, looks and feels wonderful. I'm sure over the next year we will see what KTM parts fit, what other aftermarket companies come out with, and more reviews from everybody out there. It's just a super fun bike to ride. It's very comfortable. This bike has a shorter wheelbase, so it definitely excels in the more tight, twisty turns. It has enough torque that you don't necessarily have to be in the correct gear all the time. You can definitely leave it in a little higher gear and lug through some areas if that's what you like to do. Some of the other CFMotos lacked a little bit of power down low, specifically the 650NK and the 650 Aventura. You definitely had to make sure you were in the right gear down low, especially when you were pulling out. This bike has no problems. It has enough torque to do whatever you want. Well, that's all I really had for you guys. I've really been looking forward to riding this bike since the day it was introduced. I'd have to say, I think it's even better than what I anticipated. It started with a good platform, and they made some tweaks and changes to make it their own. At this price point and the features it has, it is really, really tough to beat. If you guys have any more questions, please leave them in the comments. If you can, please subscribe, give the video a like. I really appreciate it. I plan on having more ride and review videos here in the future. And I just want to thank you guys for all your support.